To the one sitting in silence, carrying storms no one sees, this one is for you. Ever feel like you're shouting into the void and nobody hears you? Like you're walking through fire with no water in sight and everybody just keeps passing you by? I know how it feels to cry yourself to sleep with a smile on your face all day long. To wake up every morning and fight a war behind your eyes and nobody even notices you're bleeding. You're not weak. You're not broken. You are strong in ways most people could never comprehend. You've learned to clap for others while your world was collapsing. You've carried pain with dignity. You've walked through heartbreak and still found ways to love. This is for the ones who keep pushing when quitting would be easier. For the ones who rise when they have every reason to fall. If you've ever had to rebuild yourself from the ashes, piece by piece with no applause, no support, no hand to hold, you are the real warrior. You are not alone, even if it feels that way. The silence doesn't mean defeat. It means you're still here, still standing. And baby, if you're still standing, you're still winning. You know what they don't tell you about strength? It's not loud. It's not a roar. It's not the cheer of a crowd or the praise of people patting you on the back. Real strength is quiet. It's built in silence. It's made in those dark moments when you're staring at the ceiling, wondering how you're going to make it through the next hour, let alone the day. It's not in the answers. It's in the questions that go unanswered. Strength is when you carry pain in your chest, a smile on your face, and no one even knows you're suffering. The world celebrates the strong they can see, but the real warriors, the ones who cry in the shower, who scream into pillows, who break down and still get back up the next morning with tired eyes and heavy hearts, they go unnoticed. But make no mistake, that silence, that's where your power is being born. That's where your grit is being carved out of your bones. It's in the silence where you truly meet yourself, stripped of applause, without a mask, and you learn to love the fighter inside of you. That's real strength, the kind you don't need to prove. There are nights when the world feels like it's pressing down on your chest and breathing feels like a luxury and no one knows. No phone rings, no one checks in, you lay there. Not because you're weak, but because you've been strong for so long and nobody realized how much it costs to be the one who always keeps it together. You scroll past pictures of smiling faces and wonder why your heart feels like it's in a cage. But even then, even in that moment, you don't give up. That right there, that's strength. That silence you sit in, the one where all your thoughts echo back with no one to hear them, that's the battlefield. And every time you don't break, every time you decide to stay one more day, breathe one more breath, take one more step, you're building something inside you that no one can take away. The silence is not your enemy. It's your teacher. It's showing you how powerful you really are, without distractions, without help, without a single soul saying, I see you, you see you. And that's more than enough. People will look at your smile and say you're doing fine. They'll see you showing up, handling responsibilities, making moves, and they'll never know the storm that rages behind your eyes, because you don't speak about it. You just handle it. You just carry it. That silence isn't weakness, it's control. It's discipline. It's knowing that falling apart in front of everyone doesn't always bring healing. It just brings more questions, more judgment. So instead, you keep walking with a quiet fire. You suffer with dignity. And while they talk about strength in terms of muscles and victories, you're living it every single day through your endurance. Nobody writes songs about that kind of strength. Nobody gives awards for it. But let me tell you something. They should. Because carrying pain in silence takes a level of courage most people will never reach. You don't get to rest. You don't get to fall apart. But in the middle of that silence, you're transforming. That silence becomes your armor. That silence becomes your sanctuary. And one day, that silence will speak for you louder than words ever could. Sometimes it feels like you're invisible, like you could disappear for a week and not a soul would notice. You send the message first. You check in on others, you show up, but when you need someone, when your soul is tired and your heart is cracking under the weight, silence is all that answers. And still, you don't lash out. Still, you don't make it about you. You just keep giving from an empty cup, hoping someone might one day see past the surface. But here's the truth. Your silence doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're choosing peace over pity. You've decided to be your own rescue. You've decided that even if no one shows up for you, you'll show up for yourself. That is not weakness, that is power. That's the kind of strength that moves mountains without making a sound. It's the strength of someone who has learned to stop begging for understanding and start trusting their own path. And yes, it hurts, but it also makes you unstoppable. Because when you stop waiting for someone to save you, you become the hero of your own story. And that's where your legacy begins. There's something holy about the silence you survive. When the lights go out and the crowd goes home, and there's nothing left but your heartbeat and your thoughts. That's where you find the truth. That's where the noise of the world dies down and your soul starts speaking to you. And what it says is this: you're still here. After everything, after the betrayals, the breakdowns, the disappointments, you're still breathing. That's no small thing. That's a testament to your resilience. The silence teaches you how to rely on faith, on gut instinct, on the whisper that says keep going when everything else tells you to quit. In a world addicted to attention, you found your strength in solitude. That doesn't make you strange, that makes you chosen. You were not meant to be ordinary. You were meant to go through the fire and come out gold. And that kind of transformation only happens in silence. You don't need to scream your pain to be heard. The universe hears you. God sees you. And the strength you've built in those unseen moments, it's shaping you into someone even you haven't met yet. You ever sit in silence and feel like it's hugging you and haunting you at the same time? Like it's both your sanctuary and your prison? That's the complexity of growth. Silence doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it feels like loneliness. Sometimes it feels like abandonment. But when you look deeper, when you stop running from it, you realize that silence is the only place where truth doesn't wear a mask. It shows you who you are. It reveals your fears, your hopes, your regrets. It strips away every excuse and forces you to meet yourself. Unfiltered, raw, real. And in that meeting, something powerful happens. You begin to heal. You begin to forgive yourself. You begin to understand why you went through what you did. And you realize this silence wasn't punishment. It was preparation. It was sharpening your vision, strengthening your resolve, developing a version of you that the noise of the world could never have created. Don't run from it. Embrace it. The silence is not empty. It's full of answers you've been too distracted to hear. You don't need to be the loudest voice in the room to make the biggest impact. You don't need to be seen every day to be building something powerful. What you're creating in silence will speak volumes in due time. But for now, stay grounded. Keep building. Keep rising. Let the silence be your foundation. People might not see what you're carrying. They might never understand the weight on your shoulders, but you do. You know the strength it takes to wake up every day and face the world with scars that are still healing. You know what it's like to walk through the fire and not let it turn you to ash. So walk on, quietly, fiercely, because the silence you're surviving today is the very thing that's turning you into someone unshakable tomorrow. The world teaches us to scream our accomplishments, but real power, it grows in the dark. It matures in quiet places. And one day, when the moment is right, that power will rise. It will speak for itself. And you'll look back and realize you didn't need the noise. You just needed the strength to stay the course. There's power in not reacting, in letting people misunderstand you, in keeping your peace instead of proving your point. That's the kind of strength the world doesn't teach. That's the kind of strength you learn in the quiet moments when you decide you don't need validation to keep moving forward. You've learned to sit with your pain, to process your grief, to carry your disappointment with grace. And that's sacred. The silence didn't break you, it built you. It taught you to trust yourself, to believe in something bigger than the chaos, to walk even when your path felt invisible. And every time you chose to keep walking, even without applause, even without comfort, you became more powerful, more steady, more real. You don't have to shout to prove you're strong. You just have to keep standing when it would be easier to fall. And you've done that again and again. The silence may not be kind, but it has been honest. And through that honesty, you've become someone this world desperately needs. Resilient, focused, untouchable. There are moments when the silence becomes so loud it drowns out everything else. Moments when you sit in a room full of people and still feel unseen, untouched, unknown, and it hurts deeply. Loneliness has a way of making you question your worth, your identity, your place in this world. But I need you to understand something today. Loneliness isn't a sign that you're broken. It's a season. And more than that, it's a tool, a refining fire. When you're stripped of company, of constant chatter, of distractions, all that's left is you. And in that space, in that solitude, you meet the real version of yourself. The one that doesn't need permission to exist. The one that's not performing for approval. The one who's been waiting quietly to be seen by you. Loneliness is painful, yes, but it's also sacred. It's the soil where self-worth starts to grow, not from others, but from within. See, people fear loneliness because they think it means something is wrong. Like if you're not surrounded by others, then you must be undesirable, unwanted, unworthy. But that's a lie. Being alone doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're brave enough to stand still, brave enough to stop chasing validation and start building foundation. When the noise of other people dies down, you start hearing your own voice again. You start making choices that reflect your values, not just the opinions of those around you. You stop conforming, you stop settling, you start listening to your heart, your faith, your future. And though the process feels isolating, it's the kind of isolation that makes you stronger, sharper, deeper. You're not being punished, you're being refined into someone who no longer needs a crowd to feel complete. And once you reach that place, that's when real power begins. That's when confidence stops being loud and becomes unshakable. Loneliness forces you to face the parts of yourself you've been running from. All the unhealed wounds, all the unanswered questions, all the fears you kept busy to avoid, they come to the surface. And it's uncomfortable. But that discomfort is where growth lives. Because you can't fix what you won't face. And in the stillness, in the quiet, you begin to see with clarity. You begin to understand your patterns, your habits, your choices. You begin to see what you've been tolerating just to avoid being alone. But now you're not afraid of alone. You're learning to sit with it. You're learning to let the silence speak. And as it does, something in you begins to shift. You stop blaming the world and start taking responsibility. You stop chasing what left and start nurturing what stayed. Your soul, your integrity, your vision. Loneliness doesn't destroy you. It reveals what you were never meant to carry in the first place. It's in loneliness that you start building boundaries, because now you know what peace feels like. Now you know what it means to sit with yourself and not feel empty. And once you've tasted that kind of wholeness, you stop allowing chaos back into your life just because it's familiar. You stop answering calls that drain you. You stop entertaining conversations that diminish your spirit. Loneliness teaches you discernment. It teaches you that not all company is good company, and not every connection is worth keeping. You don't just let people into your space anymore. They have to earn it, not through words, but through consistency, through honesty, through mutual respect. Loneliness has taught you to become your own protector, your own healer, your own friend. And though people might say you've changed, you know the truth. You've returned to yourself. You've stopped abandoning who you are just to be accepted by people who never truly saw you. There's a strength that only comes from walking through seasons alone. It's not the kind of strength that shows up in the gym or in the mirror. It's the kind that shows up when life knocks you down and there's no one there to help you get back up. So you wipe your own tears. You encourage your own heart. You speak life over yourself when all you hear is silence. That kind of strength is different. That's spiritual strength. That's soul deep. And while others are waiting for motivation to come from outside, you're creating it inside. Loneliness isn't about lack, it's about becoming. Becoming the kind of person who doesn't need constant affirmation to feel valuable. Becoming the kind of person who knows they are chosen, even when no one chooses them. You're not lonely because you're weak. You're lonely because you're evolving. And elevation always comes with separation. The higher you go, the fewer people you can take with you. People confuse loneliness with being lost, but they're not the same. Sometimes you have to be alone to find your direction. Sometimes you have to disconnect to reconnect with purpose. Because in the silence, in the solitude, that's where the vision comes. That's where dreams start whispering again. You remember what you wanted before the world told you who to be. You start chasing alignment instead of attention. And sure, it gets lonely, especially when others don't understand your journey, but you weren't called to be understood. You were called to be transformed. And that transformation takes time. It takes separation. It takes those long nights when you feel like no one gets it, but you keep going. because something in your spirit knows this loneliness is temporary, but the strength it's building will last a lifetime. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're in the wilderness, and that's where all the great ones are forged. Don't ever let this world shame you for walking alone. Don't let them tell you you're too quiet, too distant, too different. They don't know what you're building in that quiet space. They don't know the healing you've been doing. They don't see the internal battles you've been winning. They only see absence. But you've been doing presence work. You've been reconnecting with your worth. You've been learning to love yourself without condition. That's not weakness. That's transformation. The kind that doesn't need a spotlight. The kind that happens in the dark and the stillness when the world isn't watching. And when you come out of it, when you finally step into the light, you won't be the same. You'll be wiser, stronger, softer in spirit, but firmer in purpose. You'll look back and realize that the loneliness you once hated became the path to your greatest self. Not because it was easy, but because it was honest. So when the nights get heavy and the silence feels unbearable, remind yourself, you're not being left behind. You're being led forward. You're not being rejected. You're being redirected. Every moment you spend with yourself is an investment in your future. Every tear cried in silence is watering seeds you haven't even seen bloom yet. You are becoming something that cannot be shaken by applause or abandoned by people. You are becoming grounded, rooted, whole. And no, it may not look glamorous, it may not feel good, but trust this. Loneliness isn't your enemy, it's your mirror. It's showing you what you've ignored, what you've avoided, what you've buried. And in facing it, you're rising, not into who they want you to be, but into who you were always meant to become. Walk through it, own it, let the loneliness do its work. Because once the refining is done, the world won't recognize the person that rises from the silence. There comes a moment in life when the pain you carry is so personal, so deep, that even trying to explain it feels exhausting. You look around for someone to hear you, someone to truly see you. But all you get are blank stares or shallow responses. And that's when the silence creeps in, not just around you, but within you. You stop speaking because you think, what's the point? But let me tell you something loud and clear. Just because they don't understand your pain doesn't mean it's not real. Just because they can't feel it doesn't mean you're not bleeding on the inside. The world may never fully grasp what you've walked through, but that doesn't mean you walk with your head down. Your pain is valid. Your story matters. And even if you have to whisper it to yourself in the dark, you keep speaking. You don't let silence steal your healing. People have a way of minimizing what they can't relate to. They'll call you dramatic, sensitive, or weak because your wounds don't look like theirs. And that's the danger. Letting someone else define what hurts you. Letting someone else set the bar for your healing. But you have to fight against that. You have to understand that your journey is yours. It's sacred. And sometimes God will allow others to misunderstand you so that you stop depending on their validation. You start looking inward. You start learning to hold space for your own emotions, even when no one else will. That's not weakness. That's growth. That's self-respect. You're not here to make others comfortable by shrinking your story. You're here to rise above the noise and say, this happened, it hurt, but I'm still standing. Don't ever let the world's inability to relate become the reason you stay silent. Speak anyway, heal anyway, rise anyway. There's a kind of loneliness that hits different when you're surrounded by people who hear your words, but don't feel your pain. You explain, you open up, you try to let them in, and still you walk away feeling empty. That's not your fault. That's not a reflection of your value. Some people are not equipped to carry what you carry. They haven't lived through what you've endured. And instead of being angry at them, use it as fuel to connect deeper with yourself. Your pain is a teacher. It's shaping you into someone who listens with compassion, who feels with depth, who walks with humility. You've seen the valley and you're still climbing. That says something powerful. That says you've got strength in places the world can't see. And while it hurts to walk this road alone, know this, you're not walking in circles. You're walking into your purpose, even if they can't understand the map. Sometimes pain becomes your silence, not because you have nothing to say, but because you're afraid of not being believed. You fear judgment. You fear rejection. But you have to push through that. Your voice is the bridge between where you are and where you're going. And even if the world isn't listening, speak your truth anyway. Write it, pray it, scream it if you must, but do not bottle it up until it rots your soul. Suppressed pain doesn't disappear. It disguises itself as anger, as bitterness, as distance. And you deserve more than to live caged by fear of being misunderstood. Speak for the version of you that never had a voice. Speak for the younger you that suffered in silence. Speak for the future you that's waiting to be free. People may never fully get it, but your healing doesn't require their comprehension. It requires your courage. Speak, even if your voice shakes. You've been through things that words can't even touch. Trauma that rewired the way you see life. Loss that changed the way you breathe. Disappointment that made you question everything. And in the middle of all that, you kept going. You didn't quit. You didn't give up. That alone makes you a warrior. So don't downplay your journey just because someone else can't understand it. Some battles are invisible, but that doesn't make them any less real. Some wounds don't bleed, but they still ache. And if the people around you can't handle the weight of your truth, that's not your burden to carry. Your healing is not a performance, it's a process. And sometimes that process will make you look selfish to those who benefited from your silence. But let them talk. Let them misjudge. You didn't survive to please people. You survived to live. And living means honoring every part of your story, including the pain. Pain has a way of becoming your teacher when no one else shows up. It teaches you resilience. It teaches you patience. It teaches you how to find light in the darkest corners of your life. And even though you never asked for this lesson, even though you would have traded it for peace 100 times over, it's made you who you are. It's given you depth. And with that depth comes a kind of strength you can't fake. So stop silencing yourself to make others comfortable. Stop watering yourself down just to fit in rooms not built for you. Your story has power. Your truth has weight. And someone out there needs to hear it. Not the polished version, not the filtered one, but the raw, real, unedited truth. Because your courage gives others permission to rise. Your voice is the light that cracks open someone else's darkness. Don't rob the world of that. When you carry pain in silence for too long, it becomes a prison. You start second guessing your emotions. You begin to normalize dysfunction. But healing starts when you choose to speak, even if only to yourself, even if it's just in a journal, a prayer, a late night whisper into your pillow. Speak it, name it, claim it. Because what you don't confront, you can't change. And you deserve more than a life half lived because of other people's opinion. Let them misunderstand you. Let them walk away. Let them mislabel your strength as drama. You're not responsible for their comfort. You're responsible for your freedom. And freedom doesn't come in silence. It comes when you break the chains of shame and say, I deserve to heal. You do. You always did. So stop waiting for the world to validate your wounds. Start honoring them. Start turning them into wisdom. You survive for a reason. Now speak like it. Every time you speak your truth, even when your voice is trembling, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You tell your pain, you don't own me anymore. And that's powerful. That's transformative. The people who misunderstood you, who abandoned you, who dismissed you, they may never say sorry. They may never get it. But your healing isn't dependent on their apology. It's dependent on your decision to move forward anyway, to rise anyway, to love yourself anyway. And yes, the world might still throw shade, but you've already walked through the storm. They can't hurt you with raindrops. So stand tall, keep walking, speak life over your scars, and know this. Your pain may not be understood by everyone, but it will always be a part of your power. Don't let the silence win. Don't let misunderstanding mute your mission. Your story matters. Your voice matters. And no matter who gets it, never, ever stop speaking your truth. There comes a point in your life when you realize not everything deserves your energy. Not every invitation needs a response. Not every conflict requires your presence. And not every person deserves access to your heart. That's what protecting your peace means. It's not about being cold. It's about being wise. It's about understanding that your mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being are not up for negotiation. Because when your peace is disturbed, everything else in your life starts to unravel. You become reactive instead of calm, anxious instead of focused, drained instead of driven. You weren't made to live in chaos. You weren't born to constantly survive storms created by people who don't respect your boundaries. Peace is not a luxury. It's a necessity. It is your responsibility to guard it like your life depends on it, because the truth is, the quality of your life does. And the moment you realize that, everything changes. People will drain you if you let them. They will bring their drama, their chaos, their insecurities, and lay them at your doorstep like it's your job to fix it all. But you are not a dumping ground for brokenness you didn't cause. Your peace is sacred. It's the place you go when the world gets too loud, when your heart needs rest, when your mind needs clarity. But you can't reach that place if you keep opening the door to noise that doesn't belong to you. Start saying no without guilt. Start walking away without explaining yourself. Start understanding that protecting your peace is not selfish, it's survival. You can't pour into others when your own cup is bone dry. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to choose silence over chaos, solitude over noise, distance over dysfunction. That is not weakness, that's wisdom, and it will save your life. Not everyone is meant to go where you're going. That's why some relationships feel heavy. That's why some conversations leave you more confused than clear. That's why some environments drain your spirit instead of energizing it. You keep trying to make peace with people who only know how to survive in war. And it's not your job to fix that. Protecting your peace means being okay with disappointing others if it means you no longer have to betray yourself. You don't owe everyone access to you just because you've known them for years. Loyalty should never cost you your sanity. You've got dreams to chase, healing to do, and joy to reclaim. And you can't do that if you're constantly fighting to keep the wrong people in your life. Let them go. Let the noise die down. Let your soul breathe. Because your peace is the foundation everything else in your life is built on. There will be seasons where solitude becomes your greatest blessing. Not because you hate people, but because you finally realize that your peace thrives in stillness, in quiet mornings, in long walks, in prayers whispered when no one else is around. You start to see the value of protecting your space, not just from others, but from your own past habits. Overthinking, over-explaining, over-giving. You stop chasing closure from people who never gave you honesty. You stop apologizing for choosing yourself. You begin to understand that peace doesn't always look like a perfect life. It looks like inner calm in the middle of the storm. It looks like walking away with your head held high. It looks like smiling even when they don't understand your decision to be distant. And you owe that to yourself, because the world will keep pulling at you until there's nothing left. But peace, that's the armor you wear so your soul survives. Sometimes peace isn't given, it's taken. You have to fight for it. You have to build it with intention and defend it with everything you've got. That means cutting off the phone calls that leave you anxious, stepping away from the friendships that gossip more than they uplift, and silencing the voices, internal and external, that keep telling you you're not enough. You were never meant to carry everyone's burden. You were meant to carry your purpose, and purpose requires clarity. Clarity requires stillness, and stillness can only be found when you protect your peace. You may be called rude, you may be labeled selfish, but peace isn't about their perception, it's about your preservation. You can't heal in the same place that broke you. You can't grow in the same environment that made you shrink. Protecting your peace means building a life where your heart can rest, your mind can think, and your soul can dream again. You weren't created to be in survival mode every single day, constantly hustling, constantly defending yourself, constantly carrying the weight of expectations that don't even belong to you. That's not living, that's enduring. And there's a difference. Life becomes beautiful when peace becomes your priority, when you stop needing to explain every no, when you start recognizing that rest is not laziness, when you finally learn that your well-being is not up for debate. Protecting your peace may look like waking up earlier just to have quiet time with yourself. It may look like walking away from a toxic job or finally blocking someone who never respected your boundaries. It may look like going to therapy, journaling, praying, or just breathing. And you have every right to do those things, because nothing grows in chaos. Not dreams, not confidence, not hope, but in peace, everything flourishes. And that's the life you deserve to fight for. There are people who will try to provoke you just to get a reaction, just to pull you back into the storm you fought so hard to escape. Don't let them. Protecting your peace means choosing maturity over chaos, wisdom over reaction, distance over destruction. It means understanding that not every insult deserves a clapback. Not every misunderstanding requires your defense. Sometimes peace looks like walking away and letting your silence speak volumes. You don't need to argue to prove you've grown. You don't need to prove you've healed. You just need to keep showing up for yourself again and again. Because real peace is quiet confidence. It's walking through fire without letting it consume you. It's having the strength to choose calm in a world addicted to noise. And when you finally start protecting your peace like your life depends on it, you'll notice everything else starts to align. Because peace attracts what chaos always chased away. You deserve a life where you're not constantly explaining yourself, where you're not questioning your worth after every conversation, where you're not waking up with dread in your chest. That kind of life starts when you protect your peace, when you stop trying to be everything for everyone and finally become everything for yourself. Peace allows you to think clearly, to feel deeply, to love freely without fear of betrayal. It allows you to dream again without the noise of judgment in your ears. So choose peace even when it's lonely. Choose peace even when it means walking a different path. Choose peace even when it costs you people, places, and habits you once held dear. Because nothing, absolutely nothing, is worth sacrificing your sanity, your soul, or your future. Protect your peace like your life depends on it. Because when all is said and done, it's not about who understands it. It's about who survives because of it. Pain has a way of waking you up in ways comfort never could. It shakes you to your core, breaks what you thought was unbreakable, and forces you to face things you would have otherwise ignored. But what if that pain wasn't just punishment? What if it was preparation? Every tear, every sleepless night, every betrayal, it all serves a purpose when you refuse to let it define you and instead allow it to refine you. You see, pain isn't there to crush you. It's there to reveal something deeper inside of you, something greater than your circumstance. The strongest people you know didn't get there by accident. They were forged in the fire. They had to be broken before they could be built. That ache you're feeling, that storm you're standing in, it's not the end, it's the beginning. Because pain, when channeled with faith and focus, becomes the very foundation of your purpose. Nobody wants pain, but everyone wants strength. The truth is, you can't have one without the other. Strength doesn't come from everything going right. It comes from surviving what went wrong. That heartbreak you didn't think you'd recover from, it taught you how to love yourself. That failure that humiliated you, it introduced you to your resilience. That loss that shattered your soul, it gave birth to your empathy, your compassion, your depth. We don't grow when things are easy. We grow when things hurt. But only if we're willing to look beyond the pain and ask the hard question, what is this trying to teach me? Because purpose doesn't knock on your door with a smile. Sometimes it barges in with chaos. And if you're brave enough to sit with your pain, to stop running from it, you'll find something sacred in the struggle. You'll find that the pain wasn't there to destroy you. It was there to deliver you. We live in a world that tells us to hide our pain, smile through it, post like it doesn't exist. But hiding your wounds doesn't heal them, it buries them, and buried pain becomes poison. The moment you stop pretending and start processing, that's when transformation begins. That's when purpose starts whispering in your ear. Real growth happens in the dark, in the nights when no one sees you crying, in the moments when giving up seems easier, in the silence after everyone walks away. That's where purpose is born. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. And when you finally begin to understand that pain isn't a detour, but the path itself, you stop fighting it and start learning from it. You start seeing that what broke you also built you. And suddenly, you don't just survive. You become someone who can guide others through their own pain. That's how pain becomes purpose. When you're in pain, everything feels like it's falling apart. You question who you are, why this is happening, and if it'll ever end. But I want you to hear this. You are not broken beyond repair. You are breaking through. You are not lost. You're being rerouted. Sometimes God allows the pain because the place you're headed is bigger than where you've been. And that place, it requires a version of you that hasn't fully emerged yet. Pain carves out the space for that version to rise. It breaks the ego. It humbles the spirit. It cracks the mask so your true self can come forward. You don't become who you're meant to be by avoiding the pain. You become it by walking through the fire and refusing to come out empty-handed. So don't waste this season. Let the pain do what it came to do. Let it transform you. Let it purify your purpose. Some of the most impactful people in the world are the ones who've endured the most pain, not because they enjoyed it, but because they chose not to waste it. They used it. They allowed it to become their testimony, their mission, their message. Your pain can be your prison or your platform. You decide. You can stay stuck in what they did, what they said, what you lost, or you can rise up and say, this will not be the end of me. Your scars are not signs of weakness. They're proof that you lived, that you endured, and that you overcame. They are reminders that even though life tried to break you, you're still standing. And if you're still standing, there's still purpose, still hope, still more for you to do, to become, to give. The pain didn't come to stay. It came to push you forward, but only if you choose to grow through it. Purpose has a strange way of hiding inside the very thing you prayed to avoid. It's not always wrapped in comfort and convenience. Sometimes it shows up dressed as disappointment, heartache, and confusion. But once you look back and connect the dots, you'll see how that painful chapter set the stage for everything that came after. That loss, it redirected your path. That betrayal, it revealed who never deserved a seat. That setback, it slowed you down just enough for you to find clarity. That's purpose at work, even when it doesn't look like it. The pain is temporary, but what it teaches you, how it deepens you, stretches you, strengthens you, that lasts forever. So instead of cursing the pain, start listening to it. Let it break open the parts of you that you've outgrown. Let it sharpen you. Let it make you dangerous in the best way. That's how purpose is birthed, from pain you didn't think you'd survive. You may not see it now, but there's someone out there who will one day find healing in your story. Someone who will look at your pain and realize they're not alone. That's why your pain has purpose. It's not just about you. It's about the lives you'll touch, the hearts you'll lift, the hope you'll restore. When you rise from your pain, you give others permission to do the same. Your story becomes a light in someone else's darkness. Your wounds become wisdom. Your tears become testimony. And the beauty is, you don't have to be perfect to have purpose. You just have to be real, raw, honest about your journey. That's where the power is. Not in pretending the pain didn't happen, but in showing that it didn't destroy you, that you turned it into fuel, that you used it to become everything life tried to keep you from becoming. That's real purpose. So if you're walking through pain right now, I want you to hold on. Hold on, because something is being birthed in you that this world needs. Hold on, because the fire is refining you, not consuming you. Hold on, because your purpose is on the other side of this storm. Don't numb the pain. Don't run from it. Sit with it. Learn from it. Grow with it. Because every great purpose comes with great pain. And you, my friend, are being prepared for something greater than you can imagine. One day you'll look back and realize this was the chapter that changed everything. Not because it was easy, but because it awakened the fighter in you, the dreamer in you, the leader in you. This pain has a purpose, and it's shaping you into the person you were always meant to become. There are moments in life when everything in you screams to give up. Your body's tired, your mind is drained, and your heart feels like it can't take another blow. And yet, something inside you still whispers, keep walking. Even when your legs tremble, even when the road ahead looks endless, even when the people you thought would walk with you have disappeared, keep walking. Because strength isn't found in perfection, it's found in persistence. You don't have to feel strong to be strong. You don't need to have it all figured out to take one more step. Sometimes courage is just choosing to show up again, broken pieces and all. Life won't always offer you comfort. It will test your endurance, your patience, and your will. But if you can rise when your spirit is shaking, if you can stand when your soul is exhausted, then you've already won half the battle. Trembling legs don't mean you're weak. They mean you've been standing through the storm and you're still trying. They mean you've carried weight others couldn't see. They mean you fought silent battles, smiled through pain, and kept your heart open even when the world tried to harden it. Don't let trembling trick you into thinking you're losing. It's proof you've been moving forward despite every reason to stop. Keep walking through the tears. Keep walking through the fear, because somewhere in the struggle you will find your breakthrough. And it doesn't come when it's easy. It comes when you've got every excuse to quit and you choose not to. You won't always feel motivated, but discipline, faith, and hope will carry you when motivation disappears. Don't let how tired you feel make you forget how far you've come. Every step matters. Every small push forward is rewriting your story. Keep walking. That's where your healing lives. There's a version of you waiting at the end of this road who's stronger, wiser, and more whole than the person standing here right now. And you won't meet them by giving in to the pressure. You'll meet them by enduring it. You'll meet them by walking one painful step at a time. Some seasons will feel like quicksand. Every movement slow, every effort exhausting. But even in slow motion, forward is forward. Let the world misunderstand you. Let them question your pace. Let them call your trembling weakness. They don't know the weight you're carrying. They don't know the nights you've cried alone, the mornings you got up with nothing left, but you do. And you know that what's in front of you is worth the fight. You don't need applause. You don't need permission. You just need faith in your next step. The finish line may feel invisible, but trust this. You're walking closer to it every day. There are going to be days when your strength isn't loud. It's not a roar. It's not a speech. It's a whisper in your soul that says just one more step. And that's enough. Because sometimes one step is all you have. And that single step has more power than 1,000 when it's taken through pain. Don't underestimate the courage it takes to keep walking when nothing feels certain. The pain you're feeling now might not make sense, but the person you're becoming will. Sometimes God allows us to tremble because it reminds us to lean on Him, to surrender our illusion of control and to walk in faith rather than sight. Trembling teaches humility. It reminds you that you don't have to be unshakable to move forward. You just have to be willing. Willing to stand up again. Willing to take another step even when everything feels broken. That's real power. That's real growth. When your legs tremble, your vision blurs, doubt gets louder. You start asking yourself if it's even worth it. You start counting your failures, replaying your losses, comparing your journey to people who had a smoother road. But hear me, comparison will crush your spirit and doubt will steal your momentum. You weren't made to follow someone else's pace. You were made to honor your own. This path was carved for you and you alone. Every trembling step is sacred. Every shaky breath, every forced smile, every time you showed up when quitting would have been easier, that's divine work. Keep your eyes on the next step, not the mountaintop, just the next step. You'll get there. You're not behind. You're not failing. You're walking through your becoming, and you don't need to feel perfect to make progress. Just stay in motion. Even slow progress beats standing still in fear. Keep walking. Your time is coming. Sometimes you'll walk alone. You'll look around for support and there'll be silence. People will fall off. Friends will stop calling. Family might not understand. That's when it's hardest to keep walking, when the road feels deserted. But it's also when you discover what you're really made of. When no one is clapping, when no one is watching, and you still keep showing up. That's real character. That's unshakable grit. You don't need a crowd to validate your purpose. You don't need affirmation to stay the course. You were built for more than applause. You were built to rise. And sometimes God removes the noise so you can hear your own heart, your own calling, your own inner strength. Trust the quiet. Embrace the solitude. Keep walking. You'll cross paths with others who know the walk, who recognize the pain in your stride. But you've got to reach that place first. So don't stop now. Keep going. The greatest transformations come right after your hardest steps. When your legs tremble and you walk anyway, you are rewriting your future in real time. That's not just resilience. That's rebirth. You are breaking cycles with every step forward. You are overcoming old wounds, generational pain, and silent battles that tried to bury you. And that trembling you feel, it's your body catching up to the spiritual weight you've been lifting. It's your soul evolving. You were never meant to walk this path untouched. You were meant to walk it unchanged in your integrity, but transformed in your strength. You don't need to pretend you're fearless. You just need to be faithful. Faithful enough to walk when your hope is fading. Faithful enough to move forward when your heart is still bleeding. That's what separates the people who survive from the ones who lead. Keep walking, even trembling, especially trembling. That's when breakthroughs are closest. So keep walking, even when your legs tremble, even when your voice shakes, even when the tears blur your vision. Don't let the shaking stop you. Let it remind you you're alive, that you still have fight left, that you're still choosing forward. The path to greatness is not paved with ease. It's carved through perseverance. And right now, with every shaky step, you are becoming the person you were destined to be. Don't stop just because it hurts. Don't sit down just because it's lonely. Every step is taking you somewhere holy, somewhere necessary, somewhere that makes every tear worth it. Keep walking with your head held high, even if your knees are weak. You don't have to walk fast, you just have to walk forward. And one day the trembling will stop and you'll look back with pride knowing you didn't let the shaking keep you stuck. You rose, you moved, you overcame. You've made it this far because there's something unbreakable inside you. Something that no pain, no betrayal, no heartbreak, and no silence could destroy. Through every trembling step, every quiet tear, every lonely night, and every misunderstood cry for help, you kept walking. You kept fighting. Even when the world told you to sit down, you chose to rise. Not because it was easy, not because you felt strong every day, but because somewhere deep within you there was a whisper that refused to die. A whisper that told you your story wasn't over yet. You've learned that silence isn't emptiness, it's power. You've discovered that loneliness isn't your enemy, it's your classroom. You've realized that pain wasn't meant to punish you, it was meant to prepare you. And through it all, your peace became your compass, your protector, your refuge. The people around you won't always understand your pain. Some will judge, others will walk away. Many won't even notice the battles you're fighting behind that brave face. But that doesn't mean your struggle is any less real. It just means your healing, your growth, and your transformation were never meant to be validated by others. They were meant to be experienced by you. Every time life tried to break you, it refined you. Every time you felt shattered, you were actually being reshaped. The trembling in your steps never meant you were weak. It meant you were still standing when you had every reason to fall. And that strength, that resilience, is what sets you apart. You didn't give up when life gave you every excuse to. You didn't retreat when the darkness came. You stood up. You moved forward. You chose to protect your peace like your life depended on it. Because it did. And now you know this. Your purpose was never lost. It was just buried under layers of pain, fear, and doubt. But walking through that fire brought it to the surface. The hurt didn't steal your destiny. It revealed it. You were never walking alone, even when it felt like it. Something greater was always guiding you, shaping you, holding you steady when you felt like crumbling. Every setback was a setup. Every delay was a redirection. Every tear was watering the strength that's now blooming inside you. So keep walking, keep believing, keep protecting your energy, your dreams, your heart. Don't silence yourself for the comfort of others. Your truth matters. Your journey matters. You matter. And every step you've taken has not been in vain. You are rising. You are healing. You are becoming everything they said you couldn't be. Thank you for listening. Thank you for surviving. Thank you for walking, trembling, hurting, doubting, but still walking. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are destined for something greater. God bless you. Stay strong. Keep walking. And never forget, you were built for this.